Welcome back to what seems to be forever. To the Danger Lounge. I am the Dangerous One. Let's get this party started, shall we? As usual, if you like the video, you find the content interesting and or effective, certainly valuable, please click the like button, share with a friend, and add me. Add me for notifications, add me as a friend. Love me, tease me, make me want you. All right. So this has been one I've been meaning to address for a while here. This is, of course, another segment of Flirting with Danger. And we are coming to you live from Danger Lounge, where all your dreams come true. And every night, or every day, rather, is a Saturday night. Let's get into it. All right. So the question at hand is, well, the topic at hand is body image. When it comes to human relations, certainly sexual relations, touching, feeling, overall good times, it is important to have confidence, a good self-image, right? And how do we ascertain that? How does the opposite sex look at that? Okay, so the question I get a lot is from women here. None of us feel totally confident with their bodies at all times. You know what I mean? Actually, some of the people with the best bodies, men and women, are often the most insecure. That's why they work out so much. That's why they look the way they do. That's why they're obsessed with it, right? So people who are actually more confident, a lot of times they don't really look like that, or if it's not a priority for them because they prioritize other things. Neither is right or wrong, as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're in reasonably good health and you're able to get the job done, take that any way you want, then, you know, and your partner finds you attractive, then all good, baby. But point is that all of us are like that to some degree. It's part of being a human being. You're not abnormal if you feel that way. Now, there is such thing as you being a little bit overly obsessed about it. And if that confidence is affecting your overall performance and your relationships and your sexual health and your ability to get it on without getting here. Remember, the brain, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest sex organ. So if you can't get out of here and into the moment with your dance partner, then you're not going to enjoy the experience. And what is the point of having sex if you're not going to enjoy it? It's about letting go. Everything about sex is letting go and enjoying the moment and living out fantasies and being free to do so. That's part of the human experience. Let go of your inhibitions. Be comfortable with that person. And the more comfortable you can be, the more free you're going to be to enjoy it. And so certain people need to check off certain things from their mental list in order to feel comfortable. And one of those, the biggest things is, do they feel comfortable in their own skin, their own body? Do they feel comfortable with that other person? You know, I think that's the other thing that we often miss. Do you feel comfortable with that other person? And here's the thing, what can you do about it if you don't, you know? So we're going to get into that right now. First part of that question is, do guys, if this is coming from women, do guys really care about how your body is as much as you as a woman think that we do? And the answer is, well, it depends. I mean, like, as anything else, there's no easy answer to this. It depends. What is the relationship? What is the context of a relationship? Now, I'll say this. One thing you need to know right off the bat is, if he's having sex with you consistently, then he's not repulsed by you, okay? Now, that may not be what you want to hear. Here's the thing. You already know this. Guys will have sex depending on when they feel like they have sex. It's a bodily urge for us, a lot easier than women will. Our standards for having sex are a lot lower. Now, they're very high when it comes to dating if a man has options. And of course, if the man has options, he's going to have sex with women of all shapes and sizes and what, you know, so it's really about his options. What are his options like? If he has options, most guys like variety. So different shapes, sizes, hair colors, right? Personality types. It really depends. Now, in terms of relationships now, which is what most women are interested in, the body's not the number one thing. And you probably wouldn't want a dude that only cared about your body. Now, of course, the guy is going to care about if you keep yourself in shape. Yes, that is something he does care about. We care more in a relationship about, is this woman cool? Does she bring me peace? You know, is she fun to be around? Does she charge me in other ways? Right? Because that's what's sustainable. Now, again, we have to be physically attracted to her. But ultimately, a guy will take a step down in looks, physical and otherwise, if the woman is loyal if she brings him peace, if she's a relationship with, is this a woman he can wife up and be in a relationship with? Then he's going to accept a little lower on the physical scale for that, right? You'll see that a lot, okay? And for women too, let's be honest. I think women are the same way. When women look at physicality, probably as much as guys do, but they don't necessarily. But I will say, guys, women will override that if you're a great conversationalist, if you're great in bed, if you make her feel a certain way, if you stir some emotions. In other words, her emotions will override that dad bod. So for women, it's here and here. We always remember that. We always talk about that. Here, that overrides everything else. But they do care about you being in shape. If you're overweight, you're not taking care of yourself. That really says more about who you are as a person to a woman. You know, do you have standards for yourself? Do you take care of yourself? Do you have character? Do you have ambition? Do you strive to be a better version of yourself? That's what's attractive to women. Yes, of course, you know, to a certain degree, she wants you to be physically strong and masculine and sculpted to some degree. But if you're not perfect, she's probably not perfect either. Okay, so it's not a matter of you being perfect. It's a matter of being better than you were yesterday. Does that make sense? You're striving. You're looking to get better. What does that say about you as an individual? So, ladies, if you do have, we're talking to ladies now, and this will apply to some of the men also, but since women ask me this more often than guys do, guys seem to be a little more comfortable with their bodies because at that point, if they're in bed with a woman, their other head is overriding this head right here. Typically, they usually don't get in your head too much, but let's talk about that, ladies. Sometimes you're in your head so much that it's difficult for you to enjoy the moment, especially when it's with someone new, obviously. But sometimes even when it's not with someone new. And again, this is not abnormal, but if it's becoming an obsession, it's preventing you from enjoying the experience and being in the moment with this other person. Then we got to do something about it. We're not going to just sit here and take that, are we? No, we're going to get better. Okay, so how do we do that? First, we go back to what we just talked about. Be in the moment. You must be in the moment. How are you going to be in the moment if you're so self-conscious, right? Well, you focus on something else. You focus on the other person. Okay, focus on the other person. You know, many guys operate with any port in a shore mentality and a storm mentality. I understand that. But he finds you attractive in this moment at some level. So don't get in your own head about it. But focus on the other person. Focus on being with them in that moment, getting wrapped up in the moment and the experience, right? Maybe something about them. Pick something on them physically that you enjoy, right? You can pick a flaw if you want, if that makes you feel better, but ideally it's something you find physical about them and just focus on that. The other thing you can do is, this is really the best thing, if you feel comfortable communicating it, communicate it. We're all human beings. Let me tell you something that I do know about guys. If you are a woman that has any sort of hang up at all, or if you're feeling odd in some way, shape, or form, guy wants to know that. He's not going to hold it against you. In fact, he's going to find that vulnerability from a woman very appealing. As long as it's not coming off as being needy or high maintenance or overly emotional, you're going to be fine. And that's going to be very difficult to do. If you're opening up to him in a vulnerable way, and you're positioning yourself like, hey, look, I don't really feel comfortable with my body sometimes, you know, let him know something like that. Express it any way you like to, but let him know that, because then he can do things to make you feel better about it. Does that make sense? He's not going to hold it against you. He's not going to become less attracted to you because you communicated it. It's going to be the opposite effect. Here's another thing you can do. Focus on your assets. Okay, so you don't have the perfect body. Most people don't, okay? But you do have at least a couple features that are really appealing. And I'm sure the guy that you're with finds something appealing. He said something like that to you. So focus on those things. Forget the stuff you don't have. All right, so I've been in sales for a long time, okay? And one of the things about being in sales is you never focus on the things that you don't have or your shortcomings. While you're working on those, you focus on the things that you have. You can't be everything to everybody. You got to know what your market is. You got to know who you're appealing to. And then you just emphasize what you already have. Now, you can work on those weaknesses and those things that you want to improve, of course, in the meantime. But in the here and the now, what we focus on is our assets. We know what we like. Now, let's highlight those things. Let's express those things. Let's feel good about those things, appreciate those things, not necessarily brag about them, you know, but let's highlight them. Let's emphasize those traits and think about it so that when you're in the moment with that guy, focus on the things that you know that guy likes and the things that you like about yourself. Forget about the rest of it. That person's in bed with you at that point. So why are you focused on that? That does you absolutely no good. And the guy, why would you draw attention to something that maybe he doesn't care about anyway? I'll give you a little story to emphasize my point. Okay. Now this may sound like a heartless sort of story, but I'm going to tell you how the human mind works and how a male brain works sometimes. Okay. So there was this, all my stories start off with, there was this chick. Well, there was this chick once, and she was coming to my gym. And she was about 10 years older than I was at the time. And I was a young man, young man. And so this was an older lady. And I like women of all ages, sizes, colors, creeds, religions. Variety is the spice of life. And I can appreciate beauty in all people to some degree. She, by all accounts, and every guy that I talked to after she showed interest in me would tell me she's hot, right? And so she looked like one of those tennis, like a tennis player. She would wear a shirt. She just looks like a pro tennis player. It's how blonde hair, built like a tennis player, that sort of thing. You got that in your mind. Okay, so she was attractive. And I went out with her a few times, had a blast, that sort of thing. My buddy comes up to me. He was a coworker of mine. He's a buddy of mine to this day. And he says to me, have you ever noticed that her face looks like a hammerhead shark? I know it sounds bad, but her eyes were distant. It looked like it was on one side of the head of the other. So if you ever see a hammerhead shark, I was like, well, I'm not being mean. He said it. I didn't say it, right? But from that point forward, every time I looked at her, I wanted to look at her from an angle. I was looking at her from different sides. And I was like, stop looking at me. Can you turn your head? Here, move your head. And I would look at her like this. And I kept seeing her as a hammerhead shark. So like she would talk to me in character from like she was like a cartoon shark. And she would talk to me and words would come out of her mouth. I was like a cartoon. Like, what's going on? And I could not unsee it. Thanks a lot, you asshole. To this day, I was pissed off. So every time after that, subsequently, I was making out with a hammerhead shark. So thanks. That's the sort of game that your mind plays on you. Now, it was a hammerhead shark female tennis player, but it is what it is. And she was still attractive. Okay. She was still attractive. I still had no problems being attracted to her, but it did change the way I looked at her. I'm not going to lie. I was like, wow, you know what? You're right. She does kind of look like a hammerhead shark. I don't know. But again, it wasn't that she was unattractive. There's just something I couldn't unsee after that point. So he's screwed up to me at some level. So take that for what it's worth. But here's the thing that overrides it all. If your personality sucks and you're high maintenance and you're bitter or you're negative or you're constantly obsessing over insecurities, that's going to make you a lot more unattractive than any of your physical components. I know it sounds, lame. I mean, the initial impression is really the where the physicality comes in, right? So that is very important. Even for guys, yes, guys really do care about looks. Yes, that's a thing. Can't override that. But we do care about other things as well. It's not like that's the only thing. And guys do care about personality because we want to be able to spend time with you. And looks by themselves are not going to be enough to keep you coming around. Well, for a while it will. But if you're a pain in the ass, right? Just like if a guy's a pain in the ass, you're not going to want to deal with him either. So focus on your assets and focus on their assets and forget the rest, right? I think that helps ideally. Now, for you guys out there, I'm going to tell you a little story here that I think will help you. Gentlemen, don't compare yourself to other guys. Just like ladies, you can't compare yourself to other women, right? You have what you have. You're not in the market for everybody. You're not going to attract everybody for various reasons, okay? And the least of which oftentimes is your physicality. So it's not about that. I've dated women that had boyfriends that were professional bodybuilders, professional fighters. I mean, these guys were ripped, okay? And I'm not a big dude. It's got very little to do with it. It's got to do with attitude, brother. It's got to do with swagger. It's got to do with confidence. It's got to do with curiosity. It's got to do with passion. It's got to do with lifestyle. It's got to do with interest. It's got to do with the psychology, the seduction, the flirtation, the communication, the harmonizing, the philosophizing. The rest of it's all gravy, baby. So here's a little story, and I always think about this when it is, look, you have to do the work. I'm not saying don't do the work, but the confidence comes with the work, right? And it can't just be work in the gym. It's got to be work outside the gym. It's got to be with learning and improving and setting standards for yourself, having interesting experiences, cultivating that, cultivating your personality, adding layers, living creatively, being an interesting person by being interested. All these things matter the most in terms of being attractive. All right. Common things we always talk about: hygiene. There's nothing like, I don't care how attractive you are physically. If you stink, you smell bad, you have body odor that you're not aware of, that's a turnoff, whether it's bad breath or worse. You know what I'm saying? Make sure your clothes are pressed. Make sure you have, your hair is looking good. Make sure your beard is, you know what I'm saying? And always highlight your assets, the way you dress, your style. If you don't have style, you need to find a style and highlight that. Whatever that works, whatever works for you. Okay, we can make a different video about that because that's a separate video in and of itself. And my point is that the work has to be done outside the gym too. Now, clearly, if you're working on your physique as well, that's important as a man as well as it is for a woman. But you can't just rely on it. I mean, some of the most insecure people that I would never really want to hang out with, that look phenomenal and they'd be great for one night stands. That sounds terrible, but they're probably not people that I'd want to hang out with consistently. Are in the gym, and believe me, because I know this, because I've worked in that industry for a long time. I've been in sales for a long time, and believe you me, that some of the most insecure people, the most emotionally unwell, a lot of times will take place in the gym. It's not always the people that go in there. Physically, they're very healthy, but not a lot of them. The ones that do competitions and things, a lot of them are highly insecure. I mean, think about the mentality that it takes to get up on it. I'm not criticizing anybody that does it, because there's people that do it and they just do it for fun, and they're perfectly well. But there's a huge population of people. If you think about the mentality, you go on stage, you get a fake tan, you're in there on your underwear or your bikini, and people are looking at you and judging you, taking notes about different parts of your body. Think about the mentality. There's nothing wrong with it, but where must you be psychologically for that to be that important to you, that you're willing to put yourself in that situation? Is that confidence or is it insecurity? I don't know. It depends on the person, I suppose. But perfect segue. Great Arnold, for you men out there, Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, he said, look, I was practicing posing, and there was a guy that came in who clearly didn't know what he was doing, and he asked me advice on how to pose. Right? Posing meaning the end of the show when you're doing, yeah, brother, that sort of thing. So he was posing, and the guy clearly didn't know what he was doing. He's an amateur. He's like, hey, how do I pose? And so he seemed like he was very cocky, and Schwarzenegger was like, well, he was doing this. He was like kind of, he wasn't showing himself. He was just kind of like, you could tell he was insecure. And he's like, no. He said, oh, when Arnold goes up on stage, even if he was little, he said, he goes, even if I were little, it'd be the same thing. Bam. Because a lot of it's just a confidence, right? So it's bam. Whatever it is whatever it is. Look, do I have a huge bicep? It's not bad, but it's not huge, but it fits my size. It fits me. I don't need to have a big bicep to get women. I don't need to have a big bicep to be money. Okay? I'm already money. I'm going to continue to be money because I'm going to continually try to improve myself in a variety of ways, not just my physical body. Okay? That'll be one of the things I'm doing. Right? So if I'm spending all my time getting this, can I have time to develop all these other aspects of my life? Maybe. But the whole point is, this is what it is. You see what it is? That's what it is. All right? And it's not take or leave it. It is, yeah, baby. That's right. That's right. There's more where this came from. I got left and a right. All right? Where's the beach? Is it this way? Or is it that? Maybe it's both ways. And you own that shit, is what it is. Right? But you have to be working on it too. You can't just be sitting here and saying, don't be one of those people, whatever it is. It's like, take me or leave me. This is what I got, and I'm not improving it. That's a terrible attitude too. That is not attractive. It is, I'm working on myself. I'm getting better. And I'm not my best just. I'm striving to be my best self, whatever that is. All right, I hope that helped. I'm all over the map like I normally am, but hopefully that was somewhat helpful. And just remember, we're all like that. That other person sitting across you has some sort of insecurities. Maybe it's not their body. Maybe it's something else. All right? Talk to them. Communicate. That's the whole point. If you can't communicate with them, what is the point of having sex and enjoying it? Be bold. Be courageous. Maybe it is a little bit scary. But you know what? You're an adult. You're a grown-ass adult. You're a grown-ass adult. Communicate it. You can do it. Use your words. Till next time, guys. Be bold, be daring, be safe, not too safe, live dangerously. And remember, your body in bed, you're sharing with that person. They wouldn't be there if they didn't find something appealing.